Now the other thing I'm doing today is I've got this new routine that I do, which is on Sundays when I go to pick up the groceries, and before I do the Sunday broadcast, I actually take my car, obviously, to go and pick up the groceries, but I also do a quick run up the highway so I can charge up the battery and lubricate everything properly. And I must admit, I really quite enjoy doing that. It's great to be able to be driving, and I just really realize now that I'm getting into the routine of being retired that I use my car very little, and that surprises me. I thought I'd be using it a lot more. But like anything else in life, for my car to be happy, it needs to be used. If I let it sit and rust, it's not going to do well. So I was thinking about that's like our happiness too. You know, if we don't work at our happiness, we won't get it. I don't think happiness is something that, you know, arrives at Christmas time, you know, wrapped in pretty paper or anything. I think happiness is something that you work on. And the same as I believe that hell, in my view anyway, is what we do to ourselves. All our negative thinking, all our stuff creates hell for us. And so when I looked at the various things that made people happy this week, they were such simple things. I don't think one person has mentioned something that takes money. I could be wrong, but I don't think one person said, oh, it would make me happy to pay off the mortgage, or it would make me happy to, when I just said, don't think logically, just tell me what makes you happy. And everybody has talked about things that don't cost money. More time with my family. Now, for some people, as I've said before, you know, more time with your family is hell, not happiness. But, you know, for some people, it really is happy. For some people, just to walk on the beach is happy. I did a lot of things to make me happy this week. Achievement makes me happy, by the way. I get a strange little buzz about achieving things. I don't know what it is. The kid in me gets very excited when I achieve things, especially ones that are difficult. And for those of you who've been watching the vlogs, you know, I gave myself a gift this month of an exercise ball chair. So that's a chair I can sit on while I work, but it forces me to use my core strength, or in my case, lack of it. And what has really surprised me is what I can feel happening. I know I didn't expect this, but what actually I can feel happening has made me very happy. Because I literally can be sitting there working at the computer, and you automatically sort of rock your body a bit, you know, side to side, back and forth. It's just natural because you're balancing. And what I noticed, to my surprise, was I can start hearing my vertebrae in my neck going, which means it's loosening, because I can't remember hearing that before. Now, it could be that my spine is coming apart, but I don't think that's what it is. If my head suddenly drops off, you'll know that's what it is. No, but really, I'm not joking. I literally, as I'm sitting there, and I noticed it, that I'm starting to get the ability. I've had a real problem turning my head recently, and look at this. And I will keep checking what that mobility is like for me. But I seem to have got a little bit more freedom to be able to look to the sides. I really noticed this when I was on the road trip. It was very difficult for me to twist and do up my seatbelt in different cars. In my car, because it's a tank, the seats are made for tank drivers. And so there's a huge distance between, this and where you plug in your seatbelt. But in some of the cute cars that we had, and while we were on the road trip or whatever, it was a lot more challenging because the distance between your hips and where that clicky-inny thing was very small. And half the time, everybody else could see it because they can twist. And I realized I could not twist enough to see it. So I either needed to feel for it or I had to ask somebody to help me. Now, that really got up my nose. I don't know about you, but I hate asking for help. It doesn't come naturally to me at all. I better get used to it, right? I can hear you telling me that. The time is coming where I will not have that much of a choice. But anyway, so the report back that I wanted to give you, let me think what else I can tell you that I've discovered. Oh, I know. On the downside, and there is a downside to having one of these inflatable chairs, and the word inflate comes to mind. I had thought for some reason that it would stay inflated for a long time. And that's not true. Now, I know that I'm a fair weight, and I accept that. But I am finding that after a day of sitting on my chair, I need to re-inflate it. Now, that could be because it's got a leak somewhere, or it just is what happens. And I was speaking to one of my viewers who is into health and fitness, and she seemed to think that, balls just do need to be re-inflated on a regular basis. So, again, I could look at it and say, I haven't got time to do this every day. And then I thought, that's my problem, isn't it? My problem is that will put me back in another chair that isn't good for my back. And how do I win by doing that? And if I wish to change my perception, the fact that I have to pump up my exercise ball every day in order to sit on it, I could choose to see that as a very positive thing, which would make me happy. Because the positive thing is, that means that every day I'm working those muscles on the pump. And it was so cute because Nana wrote to me and said, hey, we got a compressor if you want to bring the ball over and you can inflate it with a compressor. And I thought that was so kind. Typical Nana. But here's the thing. I've also got a compressor in my trailer, a small one, used for inflatable mattresses and things like that. But I don't need that. Let me use the energy to actually pump the thing up. Like, I've got the strength still. And as long as I do equal amounts with both hands, you know what I mean? If I do 50 or 10 with one hand and then switch over to the other one, I will be building muscles and my core strength. That makes me happy. And now I'm going to pick up my groceries. Okay, so just to give you some sort of idea, this made me very happy. So I spent $77 this week with the stuff that I've just picked up. And that included a flat of canning jars, sort of the 1.5 cup size. Like 12 of them. And I can't remember what else is on the list there, but I thought I'd just mention, because that's what I call a non-grocery item. That is a practical item. And by the way, the reason that I get those is because I found out that they are the perfect size for me for a meal. You know, for a leftover meal, which makes it the perfect size for when I don't feel like making anything for lunch or for dinner. I can just take one out of the freezer, and I know that I just have to warm it up, which means I just put it in the toaster oven, let it warm on a pretty cool setting, maybe 200 or something, or 250, and just let it warm up for an hour, and boom, instant meal. Not only that, it's made my leftovers useful and practical. When I say practical, I'm not just storing stuff, I am storing a meal each time, complete meal. Because as you may know, what makes me happy is to actually stop just throwing stuff in my freezer because I think I might need it one day. I'm trying to put things in my freezer that I actually do use or do eat. So another thing I'm doing to make myself happy is to have the discipline to throw something out of the freezer every week. It's Sunday, so Sunday is garbage day in my life. And so I will go, and even though it won't go in the garbage, it'll probably go down the garburator or something, I will take something out and let it defrost and let it go, because it's obviously been there too long. I've got quite a few things like that in my freezer. And so I don't worry about doing all or nothing. I realize that this all or nothing thinking is what really messes me up. But it's a bit like people do with their closets, right? They don't put something new in there until they've taken something old out. Now, I love people who can do that. I always think that's, that shows the ultimate in discipline. But it makes sense. So what I'm trying to do, even though I'm not necessarily putting anything new in there, I'm trying to make sure that every week I take something out of there that's been there probably too long. And it can be bread. You'd be amazed how much bread I've got in my freezer. It can be bread, it can be roast beef that I had there in case Dougie came to visit and needed some to take home. I've got all sorts of stuff that needs to go, really does. And that makes me happy when I do it, because it's an achievement, right? And people forget how exhilarating achievement is. You can really stop and go, hey, good, well done, I did that. And that makes you happy. So whatever it is that's overwhelming. Manon, for those of you who know Manon in the south of France, one of my viewers, and I have this thing about our bedroom. We both started with somewhat overloaded bedrooms, let's put it that way. Sounds so much better than the words I was going to use. But what we'd said was that we would help each other improve that by keeping in touch and every now and then sending photographs to show that we were still working on it, or if we managed to get it where we wanted it, that we were keeping it that way. Now I'm going to fill up with gas, part of my routine here. I got this new routine that I'm doing. It's actually very good. Makes me happy.